So I'll just show you real quick what this script actually does that we'll write or use as is if you want. You start by picking an object, and what it's going to do is we'll be able to click on another object and it will make the clicked object an instance of the one we had selected at the start. So if we go into maxscript and then maxscript editor, it's just 3 lines. So we've got this selected, then we go evaluate all under tools, which will actually execute the script, and then it's active right now because we've clicked evaluate all. Now I click on the box and I get a crosshair when I go over it, and now it's an instance of that that same ball shape. So if you're not interested in scripting, which this will give you a really sort of soft intro to some coding sort of stuff. If you're not interested in learning it, just skip through this section and just copy the text straight through. But if you're interested in how it works, what it's doing is, well, these are variable declarations. So we're declaring a little bucket for information to go into with this src and dst. They're just abbreviations of the words source and destination. So what it's doing here is it's creating a variable called source, or a bucket of information, and then it's making it equal to this $sign symbol, and the $sign symbol signifies whatever's selected in 3ds Max. So the selected object is getting chucked into a variable called src source. Now we're getting the destination and we're assigning that to a method, right? And the method is pick object, and what that does is it'll make the mouse become an object picker, and that's what made it turn into a you could click on a node and it would actually pick that object to go into the variable. So for this one, it picks the selected thing already. For this one, the next thing the mouse clicks on is what goes into this variable. I've got a parameter here, and all that does is just modify this a little bit how it runs. It's saying single equals true, and that means that we don't want the person picking multiple things at once. Just click on one thing and that's all good. And it's not particularly important to have that single true there. It's just a little bit of extra protection to make sure that you don't accidentally sort of get a bit of junk data in there and start trying to replace multiple things. We just want the one value in there, which is the other object that we're going to instance it to. Okay, so we've defined these two variables, the src and dst. From now on, anytime we type that, it's going to be referring to the thing we had selected and the thing we picked, right? So now this next line is another function. On the new line, it's a new function, right? And the function is instance replace, and that's just all it is it will take an object and make it an instance of another object. And where the parameters for this one are dst and src, because the parameters that this particular method accepts are the names of two objects. So instead of trying to name them, instead of trying to do the pick object or anything like that, we've put these into variables and we've just put them there, and now that's basically referencing back to what we defined here. So it's replacing an instance of it's replacing the DST with an instance of the SRC, right? And that's all the script does. It's not anything complicated, but if you're interested in learning some maxscript stuff, there's a lot of good features, and you can save this off and use it again and again. But the other thing to look at if you're interested in learning maxscript is the listener, which is if you have that turned on and the macro recorder turned on, if you start doing things in the screen, it'll actually print out the code for what you've done. So if you want to mess around with it and figure out what all the different what all the different commands are, you can sort of just do things and it'll record them here, and experiment. And because maxscript is really good, especially if you want to get into tech pipeline sort of stuff, learning this is pretty cool, and it's a decent little introduction to some coding. So that's just my little aside about maxscript. We'll go straight back into the modeling now.